Okay, Oak Rovers, this is going to be a video that's going to help you with two-step equations. So I'm going to take problems that were right from your final test and your summative test, and we're going to kind of go over them, and then you can kind of work on them again. So the first problem is something like 4x minus 6 is equal to 22. So the first step I always do when I'm doing a two-step equation is I make a fence. And what that fence tells me is whatever I do on one side of the equation, I've got to make sure I do on the other side of the equation also. So I've got, after I make my fence, the goal is to solve for x on this side of the equation. And while I'm doing it, I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side as I did on this side when I solved for x. So I have 4x and minus 6. I've got to get what's not connected to x out of there first. And what's not connected to the x is this negative 6. I create a 0 with that negative 6 by adding 6 to that side. Now, when I do that, my negative 6 and positive 6 are going to cancel out. I'm just going to be left with 4x there. So I've simplified the left side by quite a bit. I've got rid of that negative 6. But right now my equation isn't balanced. When I added 6 to this side of the equation, it became unbalanced. So I've got to balance it out by adding 6 to the other side of the equation also. Now when I do that, I've already solved this side. I've got down to 4x. On the other side I have 22 and 6, which is going to be 28. Okay? That's one step. They call these two-step equations because in order to solve for x on the left side of the equation, it takes two steps. Now what I have is I have 4x, which means 4 times x, is equal to 28. X is a variable. 4 times the variable x is equal to 28. Now what I've got to do is I've got to undo multiplying x by 4. So what's the opposite of multiplying by 4? That's right, it's dividing by 4. So I divide that side by 4, and I get 4 divided by 4, which is 1. So I'm just left with the x over there. Ta-da! I've solved the left side of the equation. But I've got to do the same thing to the right side of the equation as I'm doing that. So I need to do the exact same thing I did over here to my 4x, which was divide by 4. So to keep it balanced, I have to divide this side by 4 also. 28 divided by 4 is 7. So for this problem, I have x is equal to 7. So they're always the same steps on all these problems, guys. I create a 0 with what's not connected to x. Then I undo what I'm doing to x. I have to undo the multiplication or dividing. Let's look at number 21 and try that one. Same thing. Make my fence. I've got to create a 0 on the side where x is. Right now I have negative 5, negative 15x, and 10. To create a 0, I have to get rid of this negative 5. What do I add to negative 5 to make 0? Positive 5, because positive 5 and negative 5 are opposites of each other. So when I do that, now I have negative 5 and positive 5. That makes 0, but it's not balanced. I have to add 5 to the other side to make sure it's balanced. The positive 5 and negative 5 undid each other, so that created 0. So they're gone. So I have to bring down my negative 15x. And on the other side, I have 10 and 5. Well, 10 and 5 is going to be 15. So now I have the equation balanced, and I've done one of my steps. Now I've got to undo it with my second step. Well, I've got to undo multiplying x by negative 15. What's the opposite of multiplying by negative 15? Dividing by negative 15. So I've got to do it to both sides so it stays balanced. Negative 15 divided by negative 15 is just 1. So I'm left with x on the left side. That's what I wanted to get. I need to get x all by itself on the left side. On the other side I have positive 15 and negative 15. Positive 15 divided by negative 15. Well, the signs are different, so I know my answer's got to be negative. 15 divided by 15 is 1, so my answer is equal to negative 1. I'm going to do two more here. I'm going to go to the bottom part of this equation, or bottom part of this worksheet, and Next one we're going to do is we'll do this w by 7. It's the exact same process. I've got to create a 0 first, and then I undo multiplying or dividing. So when I create a 0, what do I have to add to positive 4 to create that 0? Well, it's got to be negative 4. But if I do it on that side, I've got to do it on the other side also. Positive 4 and negative 4 make 0. 6 and negative 4, the positive wins, so that's just going to be 2. I've got to bring down, just like I did on my multiplication problems, I've got to bring down what's left over there. Positive 4 and negative 4 make 0, so they're gone. So I just have w divided by 7 on the left side of the equation. And what that means is w divided by 7. Well, how do I undo dividing by 7? What's the opposite of dividing by 7? It's going to be multiplying by 7. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 7. But in order to keep it balanced, I've got to multiply the other side of the equation by 7 also. Well, 7 times w divided by 7, 7 times w is 7w, divided by 7 is just going to be 1w, so I have just w on that side of the equation. On the other side of the equation, I have 2 times 7. Well, 2 times 7 is 14. So my answer for that one is w is equal to 14. Let's do 2 more. Okay? Number 27. Number 27 is 1/10 x plus 2. Okay, these are reciprocal problems. They're the exact same thing as what I was just doing. So the first step is to make my fence. Then I got to create a 0. Make a fence, create a 0, undo the multiplying or dividing. So to create a 0 with positive 2, I need to have a negative 2. But if I do it on that side of the equation, to keep it balanced, I've got to do it on the other side of the equation also. Positive 2 and negative 2 make 0. So I've got to bring down what's left. And what's left is 1 over 10 times x, or 1/10 x. On the other side, I have negative 16 and negative 2. That's going to make a total of negative 18. Now, I want to have just 1x, not 1/10 x. Well, what do I have to multiply 1/10 by to make 1? Well, if I multiply 1/10 by 10, I get 1 because 10 times 1 is 10, divided by 10 is 1. So I end up getting just x over here. But remember, I multiplied this side by 10. So to keep it balanced, I have to multiply the other side by 10 also. Negative 18 times 10, a negative times a positive is going to be negative, and then 18 times 10 is going to be negative 180. So the answer for that one is negative 180. Just got one more left that I'm going to do, and that'll be number 30. Okay? So, make my fence. That's the first step. Second step, create a 0. I create a 0 with positive 12. What do I combine with positive 12 to make 0? Negative 12. Well, if I did it to this side, I've got to do it to the other side also, because that's why it's balanced. Try and write it down exactly like I'm doing. That way, you're showing your work correctly. Positive 12 and negative 12. That's going to make 0. So I have to bring down what's left over there. Well, the positive 12 and negative 12, if that makes 0, that's eliminated. So I'm just left with x divided by negative 4. On the other side, I have 1 and negative 12. Well, they work against each other. There's more negatives than positives, and there's 11 more negatives than positives, so my answer over there is going to be negative 11. Now, to get it just so it's x, I have to undo dividing x by negative 4. What's the opposite of dividing by negative 4? I have to multiply by negative 4. But if I do it on one side of the equation, I have to do it on the other side of the equation too. Make sure you show these steps, because as you get more difficult problems, if you're not showing these steps, you'll be making mistakes. So negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4x divided by negative 4 is this going to be 1 or x? On the other side of the equation, I have negative 4 times negative 11. Negative 11 times negative 4, a negative times a negative is positive. 11 times 4 is 44. For the answer for that one is x is equal to positive 44. Now, before you retake the test, I have 3 problems for you to do. So on a piece of paper, I want you to write down this problem, number 29. I want you to write down this one, 3x minus 5 is equal to 19. And I also want you to write down this one, negative 6 plus 1/3 x is equal to 0. Those are 3 problems from your test. You're going to write these on a separate sheet of paper, and then you're going to bring these up, and you're going to show me that you've done these 3 problems, and then I will give you a chance to retake the test. Okay? So write these 3 problems down on a piece of paper, go ahead and do them, and then you'll have a chance to retake this test. Okay? Hopefully that video helped. If you have any other questions, you can ask me before you start the test. If you have questions on how to do these 3, have me come over and I will do these 3 problems with you or help you with these 3 problems, and then you can retake the test. Hopefully that helped. Thank you.